just will wrap up our conclusions and the outcome of this conference. I will moderate the conclusions. I will give the floor to Dr. Sami.
Yeah, thank you. We want to, we have crystallized some of the recommendations, and we will recite them, one by one, it's about one from each one of us. And our first recommendation is adopting and enforcing a proven methodology for conducting industrial accidents investigations, such as taproot, to determine the root cause analysis of accidents in a structured and systematic way, methodology, so that system deficiencies are discovered away from the blame culture. And this would require also a training of the involved personnel in the governmental authorities and in the industrial institutions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sami. Dr. Okay, Engineer Amr, you have a few minutes.
Okay. Thank you. So despite considerable progress in occupational health and safety and environmental legislation in Jordan, we face a critical gap, which is the absence of dedicated regulation on process safety management and the prevention of major industrial accidents. So to address this concern, I urge the government and industry to take action to develop a PSM legislation through some of the basic steps, which starts by forming a national steering committee that should include representatives from relevant government agencies, major industrial companies in the energy sector, the chemical sector, etc., and advisory bodies like the Jordan Engineers Association and the Society. Of course, the goal of this committee is to establish a shared vision and lay the foundations for the PSM legislation. And to do that, we need to perform what we call sometimes a gap analysis to identify the gaps between the current Jordanian legislation and the international best practices, such as the CCPS, risk-based process safety, and others, of course, and assess the resources required for the implementation. This will help to identify the specific areas that needs to be addressed and guide the development of a robust PSM regulation. Finally, we will need to draft a unified and comprehensive PSM legislation that mandates major hazard facilities involved in the processing, storing, and transportation and handling of hazardous chemicals. And this will be based on the gap analysis and the best practices. Eventually, of course, we need to monitor and audit the implementation of the PSM regulation in the major hazard facilities. And I believe that these steps are essentials to protect protect the lives of employees and societies, fortify our industries, and secure a safer future. Thank you all.
Thank you, Amr. Professor Ma'touk, have a few minutes.
2 minutes.
2.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I have actually 3 points that comes up when we have a presentation, very fruitful presentation, and let me thank you all for your very fruitful and very nice presentation. Actually, one of my comments I have been recorded here, that we need a private organization to be ready for investigation in accident, because somehow we find some bias during the investigation or accident in the safety, some operational safety. So we need some independent organization to be some way have a concrete and solid decision. Somehow in governmental, sometimes completely involved, sometimes it's not accurate. So private organization, as we can see in the worldwide, different ICME, ICC, different kind of organization is a good choice. And second point, actually from our presenter lecturers here, we find that we need process safety performance indicators. This is very important, and especially for hazardous industry, and this we need it urgently to be considered. The last one, my recommendation and conclusion remarks, teaching safety and learning safety is not enough. We need to focus on drills, mock drills. We need to focus more in the training. We need to focus more in maintenance. This is my point. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Well, if you allow me to add just one point, which is I grabbed from one of the lectures, I really don't remember, which is to encourage the industry to emphasize on safety by design, or what we call it inherent safer design. I think this is the very basic, and it will save a lot of effort if we make our design safe, or we consider the safety in the design stage. I will allow anybody to comment, to add, so my colleague will take notes. If anybody wants to add any recommendation or any point, we have to put it in our report. Any addition? تفضلي.
السلام عليكم. مهندس سهير أبو جاموس، أنا جاي ضيفة من أمريكا عشان أحضر المؤتمر معكم. مبسوطة كثير بهالمؤتمر وبشكركم جدا. يعني أنا مش تعليق على كل الموضوع، بس تعليق على كمان على جهودكم. مشكورة جدا، والمؤتمر كثير حلو ورائع بصراحة، وراح أنقل هاليومين الحلوين هذولا والمميزين لكل أصدقائي في أمريكا والموظفين حوالي. فأنا بشكركم جدا على حسن الترتيب والأداء والرقي بكل المؤتمر. يعطيكم ألف عافية.
الله يزيدك عافية. شكرا سيدتي. تفضل.
السلام عليكم، مساء الخير. تحية للجهود التي بذلت من جميع الزميلات والزملاء والضيوف الكرام من الوطن العربي وأرجاء العالم الذين شاركوا في هذا المؤتمر، المؤتمر الثاني لسلامة العمليات، ومؤتمر ريادي. لدي 3 مواضيع أساسية، مقترحات للتركيز عليها. لنبدأ مما تم تقديمه مباشرة. واضح الصوت. 3 مقترحات أساسية، وتحية لجهود جميع الزميلات والزملاء وكل ما بذل في هذا المؤتمر من قبل الجهات في نقابة المهندسين والشعبة الكيميائية وجمعية سلامة العمليات، موظفين، مهندسات ومهندسين، دكاترة كرام وإداريين وإداريات. طيب، سأدخل في صلب الموضوع. هي 3 مواضيع أساسية. الموضوع الأول يتعلق بالتشريعات ونظام العمل المنبثق من قانون العمل. الموضوع الثاني يتعلق بنقابة المهندسين الأردنيين، درجت على اهتماما بالتواصل مع كافة الزميلات وزملاء المهندسين، أن يكون هنالك ملخصات تنفيذية بالعربية نعتمدها حتى في الأبحاث والأوراق العلمية العديدة القيمة التي طرحت باللغة الإنجليزية، خاصة وأنها لغة تواصل أساسية ولغة إبداع علمي موجودة، ولغة تواصل مع جمهورنا في نقابة المهندسين. تحية مرة أخرى للجهود المبذولة من الجميع. أرجو إلى هذا الموضوع أهمية خاصة لأن ثمة أوراق قيمة قدمت، وأن يؤخذ ذلك بعين الاعتبار في الكتب التي صدرت. والقضية الثالثة التي تتعلق بالمقترح اللي حكى المهندس عمر الذي يتعلق باللجنة الوطني التي ينبغي أن تعمل على التشريعات، وأن يؤخذ بعين الاعتبار جميع هذه الهيئات اللي موجودة في نقابة المهندسين، جمعية سلامة، العمليات، السلامة والصحة، لأن هنالك أجسام متطورة وقيمة، وأن يؤخذ ذلك أيضا في تشريعات نقابة المهندسين الداخلية. الأنظمة القوانين يمكن أن نغيرها، تؤخذ بعين الاعتبار. المسألة الأخيرة التي أختم بها حديثي تتعلق بمرة أخرى جهود نقابة المهندسين من أجل التدريب والتأهيل والتوظيف في مجالات سلامة العمليات التي هي أوسع من مفهوم الصحة والسلامة المهنية كما نعلم، ويتعدى ذلك إلى البيئة والمجتمع وإدارة الجودة داخل المنشآت، كافة المنشآت وليس الصناعية فقط. شكرا لجهود الجميع والسلام عليكم and welcome for all of you. Thank you.
شكرا. تفضل.
شكرا لزملائنا القائمين على إدارة هذا الورشة أو هذا المؤتمر الدولي المميز الصحيح من نشاطات نقابة المهندسين والجهات الداعمة الأخرى. توصية أنا يعني بأشكيها بمرارة: إلزام الصناعات المحلية بتوفير متطلبات السلامة بالتزام من الإدارة العليا. Management commitment is essential for supporting safety department in their factories. 2. يتوجب على مشرفي السلامة ومهندس السلامة العاملين في المصانع وفي الشركات الكبرى المشاركة أو الاطلاع على البروسيس تبعهم حتى تبع المصنع حتى يكون على إلمام تام بإجراءات الطوارئ فيما صار لا سمح الله حادث. ثالثا في عندنا في نقابة المهندسين نظام ممارسة المهنة الذي يلزم المهندس معرفته ومسؤوليته عن السلامة في موقع عمله. هاي بدنا نأكد عليها حتى نلزم الصناعة بتوظيف مهندسين في مشاريعهم وصناعتهم. شكرا جزيلا لكم.
شكرا. Thank you.
I have been asked by Professor Mohamed, so I am forced to talk, hoping not to impact over the very late time. Two considerations. The first one, I have been the discipline knowledge owner in Foster Wheeler for 10 years in the UK. And I just had the honor to carry out a course, a process safety course, to process engineering, process safety, environmental. And I was asked by the department leader to start from fundamentals. Fundamentals means I also just published just an article in Education for Chemical Engineers, that is part B of the European Journal of Chemical Engineers in Europe. And the discussion was, is it possible or is it suitable to add process safety to a previous layer, or should the process safety be merged in the chemical engineering or in process engineering? Because probably I've been working in process safety since 35 years. In 1988, the Seveso directive was activated in Italy. I was very young, and so I have a long experience. Fundamentals is important. I must be transparent with you. In my experience in Europe, in Middle East, sometimes people push for the container. So we have young people that want to become manager. Management is a very nice word, but there was a Latin word, the basic of the Roman oratory means res tene verba sequentur. that is the basic of the eloquentia for Latin. You must keep the topic in order for becoming a manager. In my experience, I drove a lot of young engineers in Foster Wheeler. I was a tutor in Sheffield University, Leeds University, in Master Science and sometimes people, they ran through ADSOP, ADZID, they were very fond and very expert. Sometimes they didn't know exactly what they are talking about. So I noticed that sometimes the container is fantastic, LOPA and ADSOP, but they become generalist. Generalist means I know everything about procedure, but I don't know exactly what is the difference between, okay, lower explosion limit and upper explosion limit. No, there was a question by the colleagues say, which are the implications of knowing exactly what is the just the explosive minimum explosive concentration? The implication is the following: unlike for gas, for dust, we only know the lower explosion limit. There is no upper explosion limit. We should know. We should know, for example, that if we have an accurate understanding of the MEC, we probably, and the thing was that the size of the dust was very, very small, we probably can manage belt conveying and all the bucket elevator, and we can set up an instrument that can detect when you are going into the borderline. So this is just an example. This is the first one. The second one was the question by the professor. Yes. In Foster Wheeler, we had design in safety. Safety in design. So it means that we are not adding something to the preliminary design according to the process engineered procedure, but we just merge it into the design, all the process of regulation and rules, in order for everything should be correct and safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In fact, now I really تفضل.
كما يتوجب كل إدارة مؤسسة أو شركة يكون في لجنة للسلامة العامة، يجب أن يكون هنالك لجنة الهزب كوميتي تحدد شو المخاطر العمل وشو الحلول إلى حتى نتفادى. شكرا جزيلا.
شكرا. I want to express my gratitude to our distinguished speakers and to you all for your participation. In fact, we were very delighted by your presence, and I have to admit that the lectures or the speech, they were very high-tech, and we enjoyed it. So thank you very much, our speakers, and thank you very much, our audience and participants. It was our pleasure, and I hope that you enjoyed the conference as we did. Thank you very much for your presence, and let's go forward.